I totally agree. And I want to just advocate for some good parts of the Norwegian system, where we need to be recertified every 5 years. It's like a doctor accreditation system. And we have to be in professional groups. There is too little knowledge about what goes on in those groups, but we can use them for these things. And we also have to do a practice visit to a colleague and stay a whole day and reflect together. And we could use it for what we want. We could look at the organization, but we could also sit in at the consultations and reflect back and forth after. And that is, those two elements are very, very valuable, and we're not willing to give it up. Then I have one more comment to the EQuiP. I think that evaluations in the practices need to be easy in order to have them done. In Norway, they are taking the EQuiP and expanding it, nearly doubling the questions. So some of our colleagues are going the other directions. One of them is sitting over there, Inge. They have now made something they call mini-PEP. I think it's 3 questions, and it seems to be a lot more meaningful for our colleagues.
3 questions?
Yeah.
What are 6?
6 questions, sorry. I'll leave the mic to Inge, but I think it's a good direction to go in.
Fantastic. Yes, Norway would be completely mad to swap their quality circles for the UK quality outcomes framework. And just while we're on praising Norway, looking at the, I'm just reminded of Johannes' thesis of talk as medical work, with a lot of that analysis. Who's going to tell me the 6 questions?
We are not just using the questions about the doctor-patient relationship, we're also, there are just 2 questions we picked for the doctor-patient relationship. We also have the one for the, what they think about the staff, and how to get through to the practice on telephone and to get an appointment. So then the organizational questions as well. It's very easy. We just have one piece of paper and the patient can report just there and leave it in the box.
And what are the 2 questions?
It's number 4 and number 10. I just really remember.
But you don't remember the word?
It's the one about involving the patient in...
it's number 4, yes.
Number 4?
Oh, in the EQuiP. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Mini-PEP is...
No, we're not finished with the work, so it's on the
so maybe more censorship yet.
It's interesting how a number of groups have come up with a kind of slightly tangential issue, which is access. And of course, you know, the purists would say, well, you know, access, how easy is it to get through to the phone? How long do I have to wait for an appointment? If I'm really sick, is my doctor there for me? We might not think that's part of the therapeutic relationship. We might say, well, and, you know, when they're sitting in the room in front of me, that's the relationship. When they're trying to get through to me on the phone, that's access. But the patients don't see it like that, actually. You can see why. The doctor doesn't care about me enough to be available. I don't think it's coincidence that access has come up from quite a few groups. So I put it on there in brackets, even though it's, you know, borderline. Anyway, here we go. I've got trust up here. Well done. I can't remember what Cronbach's alpha was for that, but it was kind of all right. You know, there's nothing really to say, really. I think maybe they reduced it somewhere. So this is just a PDF. The other one I've got, which I thought you might like, is liking.
Yeah, liking, I think that Ian McWhinney thinks liking is really important, and that's good enough for me.
This is the director who did all those interaction scores, but there's actually, you know, psychometrically, you can measure whether the doctor and patient like each other. And I went looking for this, this is what I went looking for this, and I've done all this sort of academic finding all the different papers and summarising it all and sent it to Iona, and she said, well, hang on a minute. Why didn't someone do a measure of whether the doctor and patient like each other? That's really important. This is about the relationship, you know, it's not rocket science. So I did my search and found one and sent it to her. I don't think you didn't reply to that email. The reason, and actually, psychometrically, this is a very good you know, it behaves well in terms of robustness here and robustness there. It measures whether you like each other. We don't use it because I suspect we don't really know. You know, it's quite scary, this, isn't it? To have something that says, yes, your patients don't like you.
Yeah, yeah. But it was Ian who spoke, I can't remember when and I can't remember where, but he spoke about the doctor liking the patient being a really powerful, positive predictor of a good outcome, which is actually fantastically encouraging.
Demonstrates that. I don't think there's a copy of the actual questionnaire on this. I've got it somewhere. There's lots of other stuff, but anyway, it's referenced in the 2 pages that we referenced.
I did a study on patients and I did a study on where I interviewed doctors and asked them about patients that they liked and why did they like them, and we came up with the heart lift patient as opposed to the heart sink patient. So the heart lift patient you'd be glad to hear. And it was amazing how much in common the stories were. And they weren't, a lot of them weren't imminently likeable patients to start off with, but they became likeable patients over many years in some instances.
How? Why?
It was fascinating. A lot of them, I suppose if you really narrowed it down to ultimately what it was about, it ended up, when you ask people, it was a very broad question, tell me about a patient that you like. That was just the starting point. But eventually they all came to the same kind of thing. Often it was a patient they actually admired. So the impetus for the study was a patient that I admired of my own, who had, if you looked at it from the big patient chart perspective, she had manic depression, she'd been involved in an accident where she was being left with one ankle that made it very difficult for her to walk, she had hypertension, she had everything that should have made her a heart sink patient, and she was the exact opposite. When I saw her name on my list in the morning, I went, oh great, she's coming in, because she never complained. When when her manic depression was getting out of order, she'd come in and she'd say, doctor, I'm doing this now, do you think I'm getting a bit high? Should we do something about it? And I'd say, okay, let's look at that. Then when she couldn't walk, she said, I've taken up swimming, and I'm doing aerobics in the swimming pool once a week because I can't walk anymore. And this woman inspired me. She had every reason to be in a long-term institution somewhere, feeling sorry for herself on a daily basis. And she was the complete opposite. So, you know, I think patients you like are very inspiring. And I also wonder, I'd love to do the follow-on study. Is it an indicator of heartburn? Hear me, burnout, not heartburn. Heartburn maybe in the doctor, but burnout if you can't think of patients that you like. Or you can think of very, very few. I mean, we all have the few that we're delighted not to see again.
I think there's a research study coming. Yeah, I knew we'd get a research idea.
The reason why I wanted to grab the mic is that this is a very interesting design in a way, because what you're giving someone is a narrative prompt. Very open-ended, tell me about a patient that you like. It's entirely appealing to the emotions. I mean, Martha Nussbaum would love it. And then it sounds like what you're getting is stories that have in common the admiration of the patient who faces illness heroically. And I'm reminded of that book, Couple of the Author, The Hero of 1,000 Faces, that you know, you could analyse it in quite a lot of depth, narratively. It makes me want to go and ask immediately 50 doctors to tell me about someone they liked, and then to put it through the narrative analysis.
So I did it with John Skeleton so we analysed it linguistically.
Yes, yeah.
I've done it with teaching, asking the trainees to tell me about a patient they like and a patient they don't like.
Yeah.
And both are extremely interesting. And most of the ones they don't like is because actually they don't know much about them yet. You discover. Yes, Rich, I'm on my way.
No worries. My teenagers tell me I don't need a mic anyway. So 2 things quick to say. One is a lot of the story or narrative research really gets done most and best, in my view, by nurses.
Yeah.
And there's a whole science around that. In fact, there's a way that they actually try to quantify using algorithms like Heideggerian hermeneutics and things like that, where they discern sort of deeper meanings or common themes through adding up the number of times a word shows up in a sentence and where it shows up and things of that sort. And so for those of you that are interested in it, you'd probably do well to ask your nursing colleagues for some guidance around the methodology of it, because there is a whole robust science. The second thing I was just going to share as I was listening to people talking about trust is there's also pretty good science around trust in the psychological literature, as Trisha was saying, and Klaus and I were talking about that, because it turns out that the things that determine or drive trust are things like consistency or dependability, a perception of truthfulness in the relationship, a whole series of things like that. And humans generally, if you actually plot out their trust scores, we tend to want to trust each other pretty quickly and pretty substantially. But once the trust is violated, it plummets dramatically, and then it takes a good long while to bring it back up to where you were. And it's one thing I don't think we are necessarily aware of ourselves or do a very good job teaching. You'd like to recognize when you're about to take the plummet. But what has happened, what I've always said, whether it's me saying it to myself or to my trainees, to say, all right, now you're down in the valley. You're going to have to work extra hard to get it back up to where you want it. Just be aware that it's going to take that extra effort because the trust has been violated.
And that journalists are 30% and politicians are 20%. But I have a feeling with all the upheaval in UK general practice, doctors may be in for a bit of a plummet, and then we will be in real trouble. Sorry.
I've just been thinking about some of the discussion has been more or less cross-sectional analysis. What are my patients thinking at the moment? And I think that exactly as Rich was saying, that it has to do with the process over here. So maybe we should look at longitudinal studies of the trust. How do you build up trust? How do you avoid the plummet? Or how do we get back up when you've lost it?
You really feel if you go on maternity leave, I know that.
Yeah. But it would not be easy, it would not be difficult to identify a group of doctors who had had that experience, who had gone through that process, recognised them as happening, and somehow analysing it. A bit more difficult prospectively, identifying who's about to plummet.
I don't know.
We're on 3 o'clock running in, so let's have some closing remarks.
I have just a question again to this discussion about alike patient or alike not. The quality of the therapeutic relationship should be free, in my opinion, whether I like the patient or not. And the question should be, how could I avoid a different treatment?
Sorry, how could you avoid what you mean by different?
If I like the patient or not, I should.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I see exactly what you mean. I think that's, again, very, very important, but it's also important to be aware of who it is that you're creeping into dislike of. And it's nearly always imaginative failure, isn't it, about making assumptions about people and not knowing enough about them. And if you just ask them a few left field questions, then you can find a new reservoir of liking if you work at it. But I agree, it's a real warning sign for quality. If you feel this is a patient I want someone else to be listening to in a month's time, that's a warning that your quality may be about to.
Yeah, and that came up over here.
Yeah.
How often do I have a patient who I would not see again, or I wish someone else was seeing?
Fantastic. I'm chairing. We're finishing on time. Thank you very much. I think we've had some wonderful discussions. I'm looking forward to some very great additions to the literature, not only from Trish, but from around the room. So yes, please send me copies of your papers when they're published. Thank you.